Balad is about 50 miles north of Baghdad in Iraq's Sunni Triangle. Just outside the city is Anaconda, the U.S. military's main logistics support base for Iraq. David Axe visited there earlier this year while embedded with the 4th Infantry Division. He spoke to an Army intelligence officer at Anaconda about the security threats in the area.
In our area, we see two very different types of insurgent. First off, we don't see much in the way of small arms, i.e. AK-47 attackers, RPG attackers. No, neither group is very inclined to a direct engagement with our patrols due to the fact they know that more often than not they're going to lose that engagement. So the two groups we have use two other attack modes. Their preferred method of attack is through IEDs, improvised explosive devices, which everybody knows, and through indirect fires, mortars and rockets. Now we have two in our specific AO. Those two attack groups are broken down and basically almost split in half. We see a group to the east of our location that is very professional. When they shoot indirect fire, they hit. They make very complex IEDs that have pressure switches, timers. They hide camouflage them very, very well. And overall, the overall construction of their IEDs are much more sophisticated than we see with the other group. And again, like I said, they're indirect fire. They usually use a heavier caliber weapon, i.e. a 107 millimeter rocket, 82 millimeter mortars, 120 millimeter mortars. Now, our other group is what we would consider a poorer, dumber insurgent. We're talking farmers whose crops aren't doing so well, persons who used to work on Balad Air Base here who no longer work here or no longer allowed to work here due to their ties to the insurgency. But they're not as well educated, they're not as well trained, and what they usually shoot at is misses. When they fire indirect fire, it usually misses. And usually when they do fire, we usually catch them, or we end up shooting back at them and either wounding or killing them when we do. The IEDs are much more simple, smaller ordnance sizes. Instead of the 155 or the 152 that we see from the professionals, we see 82 millimeter mortar, a 120 millimeter mortar, 122 millimeter artillery shell. Things that even when they detonate, they very, very rarely damage the vehicle, if at all. They may just scratch the paint and chip some glass off the windshield, but basically they don't harm our soldiers at all. So the funny thing is it's almost split on a north-south line, and there's two towns that basically are the strongholds for the insurgency in our area. And it's very clear and distinct that to the north and east of us we have the professionals, and to the south and west we have the inexperienced guys who are doing it for a quick buck. Beyond that, like I said, we don't see any VBIEDs around here. We don't see any suicide bombers. Most of these guys, when they attack, they want to get away and make their money. A lot of the financiers will come into the mosques during prayer times. That's one of the places that we are not allowed to go as coalition forces. And they get their payments there. We get this through sources from our human intelligence agencies to tell us where they are and where they're getting their money at. But again, unless we get help from the Iraqi army folks to come in and really start cracking down on these guys, it's harder for us to catch them at that. So that's basically the overall breakdown for our info.
So are you finding, have you found, you guys only been here about 2 months, but have you found in that time, are there any trends, things getting better or worse? Or
actually, we found out for one thing that our enemies are fair weather fighters for the most part. They don't like the rain. When it rains, our attack numbers dip significantly, and when the roads dry up like they are now, our track tend to spike up more. We usually, when it's drier, cleaner weather, we'll see more IEDs because it's easier for them to place them and hide, and they don't like to sit in the mud or in the rain, in the cold, to wait for a target for an IED, because an IED takes tactical patience. They have to wait for it. Whereas an IED round or an indirect fire round, they can just drop it in the tube and run, which is like what happens on a regular basis around here.
Can you give me a sense of how many IEDs are are found in, say, a week or a month?
Actually, our unit has been exceptionally successful in this area as well as overall in the whole northern area. We find about 80% of the IEDs that are placed in the area.
I went out with a unit from the North Dakota National Guard, the 164th Engineer Battalion, to clear the surrounding roads of improvised explosive devices. Roadside bombs, or IEDs, are the major killer of U.S. troops in Iraq, especially of troops whose job it is to haul supplies and troops who are spending a lot of time on roads. And so it's a major mission of Army units based at Anaconda, at Logistics Support Area Anaconda, the major logistics hub, to clear IEDs from the highways that lead to and out of Anaconda. So the North Dakota National Guard, Alpha Company of the 164th Engineer Battalion, is equipped with these new armored vehicles that are designed to be bomb-proof and to let them get close to IEDs and clear them while minimizing the danger to themselves. So they roll out in a heavily armored patrol that includes up-armored Humvees and these big wheeled vehicles called Buffaloes that have these articulated arms on them. The idea is they cruise up and down the highways and keep an eye out just for anything suspicious, piles of fresh dirt that might indicate where an IED has been buried, or debris where someone might have hidden an IED, or even fresh asphalt, because insurgents are known to dig up asphalt, plant an IED in the hole, and then pave over it. And if they spot anything that looks like it might contain an IED, the Humvees pull up into a perimeter, and the Buffalo noses up to the suspected IED, and the crew uses this articulated arm to poke at the supposed IED to see what it is. If it is in fact an IED, it can pick it up and disable it or crush it or move it. And in some cases, they find an IED, pick it up, the thing explodes, but the Buffalo is basically just this enormous armored shell with wheels attached. And last time I had checked, despite several occasions when IEDs have exploded on these Buffaloes, nobody's been hurt.